Yes, good morning from Turkey and most probably good afternoon from India. And I don't know, we have different participants, most probably different participants from different time zones. And we are here again for another webinar for the Business School Global Lecture Series. And today we have a guest from the Parul University. So we have, thanks again, we have Dr. Preeti Nair. And before starting the lecture, I would like to remind you that, so we are recording this session, and after we record this session, so it's going to be available on Altınbaş University YouTube accounts as well, okay? And before starting the session, I would like to say some few words that we had a very difficult time in Turkey. So I would like to, almost 1 month ago, we had an earthquake. There was a devastating earthquake in Turkey. And I would like to share my sadness before starting this session. And I would like to say that our hearts, our thoughts, and our prayers are with the people who are affected by this earthquake. And today's topic is cross-cultural communication and specific respect to India. And thank you again, Dr. Preeti Nair from Parul University. So please introduce yourself, and we would like to hear about you. And then you are going to have a 45 or 50 minutes presentation session. And if we have any questions, and I would like to say that I'm going to have many questions during your presentation, most probably. So I'm going to ask my questions, and we are going to finish this presentation in approximately in 1 hour. Thank you again for your contribution to our global lecture series, and the floor is yours. Good luck.
So, namaste. Thank you so much, first and foremost, for inviting me for this global lecture series. And I feel really happy to be connecting with all the students out there. But before I start on my presentation, I offer my condolences to the very big calamity which your country is facing today. We have faced in the state of Gujarat, where I come from, an earthquake with such magnitude. And, I totally understand that it is not hours of job, but it takes years to rebuild the entire system, the entire civilization back again to a normal life. So I sincerely offer my prayers to all those people who are suffering. And from my side, any offer which I can do for the community or for the students out there, I will always be ready. So thank you so much once again for inviting me, and I will start my presentation. Yeah, so this is a brief about me. As mentioned, my name is Preeti, and Preeti in Hindi means love. So I am taking this session for all of you with great love and with happiness. So I am basically a human resource management professional. I did my PhD in the area of education, and I just completed my postdoctoral education in the National Education Policy, which India launched in 2020. I'm working with Parul University since 15 years. I was the former Dean of Faculty of Social Work, and from 2017, I have been working in the area of internationalization. So this is very brief about me. So today I'm going to speak on cross-cultural communication, but I have tried to make this presentation as practical as much as possible, wherein I will not be, speaking on any of the theoretical part, but more on the application part, more on the experiential part. So if anybody of you have visited India, you will try and understand what I'm trying to mention here. But if you have not visited India, this 1 hour will give you a glimpse of what India is like. So for me, India is this slide. If you see this slide, it's very colorful and it's like, very vibrant. So India for me is this. So if you take food, it is very colorful. If you take the paintings, very colorful. Even our festivals like Holi, which we celebrate, is also colorful. Our clothes are very colorful. The temple architecture is very colorful. So this is what India is for me. But let me start with some demographics about India. So everybody knows India is one of the highest populated countries in the entire world. So just to give you a rough estimate of the population which we are going to have by 2036 is 152 crores. But the positive fact about this population is we will be the youngest, age-wise, youngest country in the entire world in few years. So maximum population, 65% population by 2031 will be the working age population. So India is seen as a place, which is good for those students who are aspiring to have a cross-country collaboration in the area of business or trade or maybe entrepreneurship. So this is what the statistics is for the students who are listening to me. While when I speak about the geography and the space of India, India is very different with respect to, what you need. So India is on the equator. And if you are fond of mountains, the north of India is the best place for you to be. But if you are fond of beaches, the southern part of India is a coastal region. So you can enjoy the beaches there. The western part of India is desert. We have Rajasthan, which has the biggest desert, and the eastern part of India is rainforest. So geographically, the location of India is such that the climatic conditions, the territorial conditions are very much adequate for all the citizens who live in India. And rivers are the main source of irrigation facility for us, and India is known for as an agriculture country. So the main river is Ganga, which flows from the north to the middle of India. While the ethnic and the linguistic composition is, we are divided into Indo-Aryan and Dravidian civilization. So the north of India is actually into the Indo-Aryan civilization, and the southern India is a Dravidian civilization. So that is why with each state, the culture, the religion, the customs, tradition, everything is changing. So this is the biggest reason. And the national identity for us is Mother India. So we believe India as our mother and we respect our motherland. So the national identity, although we are a country which is patriarchal in nature, but still for us, we believe India as our mother. This is the Indian history timeline. This is with respect to focusing that the Indian civilization started long back. And this is a picture which depicts that from 30,000 BC, that is before Christ, the civilization in India started, in the region of India started. And I would also like to show you an Indian history which is divided into ancient, classical, medieval, and modern. But I also would like to mention this fact that we started our civilization in 3300 BCE as Indus Valley civilization. So India is one of the oldest civilization in the entire globe. And also this slide mentions the number of times India was ruled by different dynasties. So if you see, even though it's one of the oldest civilization, we got our full independence in 1947. which is not long back. So even though the civilization is old, we are a very young country with respect to the freedom which we have achieved, after the British Raj. I would now like to come to the social structure and stratification. So how the society of India, the traditional society of India is divided into. So the society of India is divided into four major, sects, that is a different caste system. So Brahmins are one caste. Second is the Kshatriyas. Third is the Vaishyas, and fourth is the Shudras. So these are the different caste system. So the society was divided as per the skill of people. So Brahmins are from the caste, which is a priestly caste. So the people who are into temple work, and who offer prayers to the god, who does everything for the gods in the temple. So they are known as Brahmins. The second is Kshatriya, which is a nobility caste or warriors. The third is Vaishya, which is a merchant caste, the entrepreneurs. And fourth is the Shudra, or the artisans or the labor caste. So this is how the society was initially divided into. In the modern India, the caste system still exists, but it is not thought of as a hindrance to friendships, or a hindrance to doing business with, or a hindrance to anything else. But the caste system still exists, and people have their names with respect to their caste. So the family name is belonging to the caste name. So you can easily identify a person with the family name, that from which caste the person comes from. I come now to the cultural identities, and the first thing which I have shown the picture here is Namaste. So Namaste is how we greet each other. So with this slide, I would also like to say a Namaste to each one of you. So we join our fingertips with each other. Our palms are joined. We keep our shoulders a little erect and then slightly bend our head. And this is a way of greeting people in India. And we believe that every individual has a bit of God in them. So when we do Namaste, we are actually respecting and praying to the God in that individual. So this teaches us to see the positive part of every human being, even though there might be some negative character in that person, but still treat that person as a God. So that is why we bow down to the person whom we meet. But scientifically, there is another meaning to this, is when we press our palms together, this helps us, the connecting of nerves to the brain, and this helps us to remember that person for a long period of time. So with every cultural identity or value, there is a scientific meaning for that. So people maybe in the traditional times, in the earlier times, were not very much science oriented. So everything was connected to a value system. So even if they were believing in that system or not, but because it was a value system, they used to practice it every day. So this is how Namaskar is, and this also helped us during the COVID times, because we are not shaking hands with each other, but from far doing that Namaste. The second area is visiting temples. So Hinduism is one of the most prominent religion in India, followed by Muslim, followed by Christianity, and we also have Jainism and Buddhism. So, and Sikhism also. So India is a multi country with respect to religions, and all the religions are accepted in India. But although the majority of the people are Hindus, and we visit temple a lot, so we believe that temple is a place with which has a positive energy, and it is built with copper plates beneath the idol. So these copper plates create magnetic waves from the earth, and it radiates around the surroundings. So when we visit the temple, it actually helps us absorb the magnetic waves. And that is why it makes our mind, our body very calm. So this is one of the main reasons why we visit the temple. We also have bells in the temple, which we ring when we visit the temple. And we believe that the sound which the bell makes is actually the sound of universe. And this sound is lasting for a minimum of 7 seconds. And this helps us to heal the 7 chakras in the body, as per the Indian Ayurveda system, which erases the negative thoughts. So this is how, you know, we ring the bell, and the sound is resonating in the entire temple for 7 seconds. We also worship idols. So in Hinduism, we worship idol. We have this idol worship, which is not found in all the religions. And the reason why we worship an idol is, the reason is when we look at a person, we remember the person and the name for a long period of time. But if it is only a name, we may forget the name. So when we look at an idol, when we pray to the idol, and when we close our eyes, we are actually seeing the idol. So that helps us to remember the God, remember and increase our memory power also at the same time. So that is why we have idol worship. And in India, we have more than 3,000 gods and goddesses. And all the gods and goddesses are very beautifully dressed. So, you know, it also gives a very pleasant feeling, and we can linger a longer because all the gods and goddesses are dressed very beautifully in all the temples. We also have a very common system of fasting. So fasting is scientifically helping us to, you know, cleanse the toxic which is gathered in the body system. But actually, fasting is one of the main prominent factors of Hindu religion as well. There is one more identity. So I'm not talking about the religion per se, but I'm talking about the different non-verbal and identity of India. Say, for example, touching the feet of elders. So if in any public space in the entire world, if you see one person touching the feet of somebody, you can guess that this person is from India. So that is how I'm trying to help you identify the main identities, the cultural identities of India. So the value system is whenever we meet somebody who's elder to us by age, we touch their feet to seek blessings. But actually, scientifically, it also helps the cosmic energy from one body to be flowing into the other body. So that is how, you know, say, for example, if one person is sad, but is going to the other person, touching the feet, there is a healing which automatically happens. So that is why whenever we greet and meet a person who's elder to us, we touch their feet. We also, India is famous for Ayurveda, and Ayurveda is a science of Indian medicine. So we have a lot of remedies for, bad health or diseases through our medicinal plant. And one such plant which we worship is actually known as Tulsi. So Tulsi is basil. In English, its name is basil. And we worship Tulsi. So each home in India has this plant. So when we have cough or cold or some kind of a flu, the first thing is we take these leaves and put it in warm water and drink that water. So that is how we have this remedies to help us for our illness. This also shows, you know, that India is very much respecting the culture along with the natural environment. So we are talking about climate change, we are talking about sustainable goals at the moment. But if you see, India as a traditional country is keeping these plants and trees also as a place for worship. So people will not cut the tree because they are actually worshipping the tree. So this is how we have kept our environment also very, the entire planet also we are supporting in a very eco-friendly manner. So we worship people tree also, which, produces oxygen during the day and emits carbon dioxide, not carbon dioxide, but also produces oxygen during day and night both. So this is a very rare thing which happens in the trees. So that is why we worship people tree. We also have a system of throwing coins. So this, I have kept this slide because there is a stereotype that if you go to India, you will have to throw coin in the water. So the reason people used to throw coins, because in the earlier system, we did not have these water tanks. We used to have rivers as a source of drinking water. So when we used to throw the copper coins, actually it helps the water to purify. And that was one of the major reasons we used to put copper coins. So it's now only a value and a belief system, but now there is no need to put copper coins in the water. We also, India is known for bindi. So even I have put a bindi on my forehead. So this indicates, a woman from India. Because this is one of the most significant identity which Indians hold, specifically women. So this is known as a tikka or a tilak. Even men have sometimes tilak on their forehead. And actually this is a place on the forehead, which is one of the chakras of your body. So when we apply the pressure on this particular place on the forehead, it actually energizes the body supply to the facial muscles. So the scientific reason of having a bindi on your forehead is because every day you're going to press this point, and this helps to calm your face down. So it's like an energy saver. But the belief system is that married women generally have the bindi on their forehead. So this is also a way to identify that this female is married, and you have to have that kind of a behavior accordingly because she is a married woman. We also have a habit of wearing bangles, although the modern women of India are not so much into wearing bangles now, but all during the religious ceremonies, either marriage or some functions, the women will wear bangles. And one of the major scientific principles for this is the blood circulation. So when the women are actually working, their hands are moving and the bangles are moving, this creates a friction. And because of this, the blood circulation of the body is also increasing. We also have a system of applying henna. I think even Turkey people apply henna. So I'm not going to discuss much, but this is a very common thing about India as well. And all women here love to apply henna on their hands. But along with henna, we also apply turmeric on our body. And this is actually because we believe that turmeric is it has healing and medicinal properties. So this is like a nourishing cream for those people who cannot afford some branded products. So in the middle class families, turmeric along with milk is applied to the face and the body to cleanse it from all the impurities. We also have fire at the wedding, and fire for us, whenever we pray, we pray by lighting a lamp. And lighting a lamp is actually lighting the fire, because we believe that fire is one of the purest element in the entire earth, and it it destroys all the evil. So for even our marriages, we have a fire burning during the entire marriage ceremony. India is known for yoga and meditation. So it's a land where most of the people worship the sun by doing the Surya Namaskar, which keeps the body energized throughout the day. And sun worship is something which, Hindus believe it as a major offering, because sun is actually the main source of energy for the entire earth. We all know that. So worshipping the sun is very important for India. We also have the Om mantra chanting, which, reduces the blood pressure and control the heart rates. This is very interesting because Indian meals are full of colors, as I mentioned earlier, but it actually is a wholesome meal. So those who are vegetarians will enjoy being in India because we have so many options of vegetarian food also. Of course, non-vegetarian food is also available, but this is a place to have many varieties of vegetarian food. And we start with spice because Indian food are spicy, but they also have sweet, a dessert with every Indian meal. And it is given to the person along with the meal. So usually when we go to a restaurant, the dessert is served at the last. But in Indian meal system, it's served along with the main course of meal. We have a tradition of sitting on the floor while eating. Many modern houses are not following this, but still we believe that it's a very good habit of sitting on the floor. One of the reasons is also that you'll eat less food because your stomach is compressed when you're sitting on the floor and eating. So that is actually a healthy way of eating. I would also mention to you about the attitude and the behavior of people. So India is known for a collectivism approach, a harmony approach. So people like to be living in a group. They don't like to be living as an individual person. So everybody wants to either be associated with a family or be associated with a social group. So the strong identity of getting associated with people is very important. While at the same time, karma, acceptance and personal choice is very important. So every Indian will believe in karma. So if you do good karma, you will get good. If you do bad karma, you will catch on with bad someday or the other. So this is a basic philosophy of any Indian to work. So you will not find many people cheating you because ultimately they think that, okay, if I cheat somebody today, maybe I will also get cheated. So this is the constant fear. So many people are God fearing, and that is why they will not do unethical. Third is modesty and conservativeness. So if you see the picture of the woman, she's wearing a sari on her head. That means covering her head. So we respect modesty and we respect conservativeness also. So it is not about that for anybody to become modern, you have to just relinquish modesty or not be conservative if you're modern. It's not like that. For us, modern is in the thought process, in the thought system, in the value system, in how you behave with the people. But as per as your identity, India is a conservative country and it values modesty a lot. Adaptability and lightheartedness. So Indians are adaptive to any situation, any culture, any country. So you will find Indians everywhere across the globe. Indians can go to any country and get settled there because they're very adaptive in their behavior and they would like to always be lighthearted. So they will not enter into any quarrel or any, disagreement. Only if there is an option, they will not fight. So India is also a land where, it's very diverse with respect to religion, with festivals. So we have a lot of festivals and the festivals may belong to one state, but is actually celebrated across India. So, it's very difficult for anybody to identify that where this festival actually started. Or where, are we the right people celebrating this festival? It's not like that. So I have given a glimpse of festival like Ganesh Chaturthi, which is a festival of the elephant god. So it's actually a festival of Maharashtra, but celebrated across India. So that is about how Indians celebrate festivals. Also communicating via hierarchy. So in India, hierarchy is one of the very key focal area. So if you have somebody elder with you sitting in the room, it's actually the communication is started by the elder. So communication with hierarchy is followed a lot, specifically in a business setting with respect to the position and in the family with respect to the eldest. Relationships and marriage. Relationships and marriages at the moment in the conservative system. So there are more of arranged marriages and not open marriages so much. But yes, because of the, the modernization happening, because of the advent of internationalization happening, there is a lot of different aspects into this. So the basic etiquettes how Indians follow is, I mentioned to you about we touching the feet of the elders in the family. Indians never sit actually on the higher side than the elder when they are sitting in front of each other. Objects are generally passed with the right hand, and India is known sometimes that people do not be on time. They are not on time, but this is true to some extent, but not true every time. So if there is an informal program or an informal function, there may be a possibility that Indians are not on time. Say, for example, if it's a marriage and there is a range of time given from 7 p.m. to 10 p.m., so you may not arrive at 7. And if a person arrives at 7, maybe there is nobody there. That may also happen. But if it is with respect to professionalism, if it is with respect to business, then Indians are on time. So they are not late with respect to time. So time is actually an essence of the context. That in what context are we talking about time? Now I come to the verbal communication about India, how Indians have, indirect communications also in verbal communication. So here I have shown you a picture, which is a picture of our Honorable Prime Minister, Shri Narendra Modi. And in this picture, if you can see that he is touching the feet of his mother, so his late mother, so you can imagine one of the most powerful man of India, but touching the feet of his mother. So this is what Indian, cultural identity is all about. So indirect communication is, the communication style of Indians is polite and indirect. So maybe in some of the communication, Indians are not directly talking to you, because they might think that you might be offended if they directly express their views. So it's mostly indirect communication. Refusals. So Indians will not directly refuse to you. Just to be careful that they are not hurting your sentiments, if they are refusing. Third is silence. So if they want to say no, they may not say a no, but maybe remain silent for a long period of time. So it is one kind of a non-verbal communication to understand that it is a no. Questioning. So you may not find Indians questioning you a lot. Whatever you tell them, they will first accept it without questioning. Maybe at the later stage, they will do their homework, but out of politeness, they may not question you a lot. Hierarchy, there is a lot of respect and deference to authority and hierarchy. May it be in the family, or may it be in an organization, or may it be in a professional setting. So people follow hierarchy a lot. These are some pictures which I have shown about the non-verbal communication. So if you see the first picture where there is a chauffeur and a bodyguard, and you see the chauffeur and bodyguard, doing a namaste to a woman, because in India, Indian women are greeted with a namaste, not with a shake hand. But in the modern settings, of course, shake hands are also normal nowadays, but this is how traditional India functions. And you also see that we use our hand a lot for contact, because we express our care and concern with touch a lot. So we usually have a habit of touching people and speaking to them, which may not be considered very apt in many countries. But in India, it's very normal to touch your student maybe on his or her shoulder, just to tell them, okay, I'm caring for you. Just let me know if you have any doubts or any questions. So this is a very usual pattern you will see in India. Second is physical contact is not seen much with respect to people from the opposite genders. So it's not very common to see people from the opposite genders together in India. While same gender, yes. Personal space is not very different from the private space. So you may see many meetings happening over dinners as well. You may also see professionals invited to the home of the, home of the people from that particular country also. So when we have international guests coming, I invite them to my home. So that means I'm not keeping my professional space and my personal space too different. Eye contact in India, people have eye contact. They respect eye contact. So if you're having eye contact, that means you're entering into a very trustworthy conversation. Whistling and winking is not considered good. Head tilt will be lot. So when we speak, we are actually using our head and hands a lot when we talk. Nodding is also one of the main aspects. So when we are, I'm a teacher, so when I go to a classroom, I expect my students, members sitting in the classroom to nod when I'm saying something. So this is kind of non-verbal communication that, okay, you are understanding what I'm trying to speak. And gestures with thumbs. So you must be observing that I'm using my hands a lot. So we usually use our hands and head and facial expressions a lot when we are communicating. So some cultural identities when we are visiting people. So Indians are very hospitable in nature and take great pride in that. So India is very hospitable, and Gujarat state, from where I come from, is also one of the most hospitable states in the entire country. So people may not be strictly punctual, as I said, because it's a contextual thing. Usually we remove our shoes before we enter the house of somebody. And even if you want or not, people will offer you tea and water. So that is the basic manners of any Indian home you visit. And they may also insist you to have that. And even if you do not want to, because that is the kind of warmth they would like to show to you. And usually the gift is brought for the children of the house, if there are children, and not for the host, the adults. So this is a usual practice. Also, when the guests leave, they actually ask a permission that, can we go now? Okay, like that kind of thing. And practices during the religious places is also similar. We remove our footwear when we are entering the temple, and you can see some pictures which I have shown. Also, giving money as a gift is also very common in India, specifically during the marriages. Eating, the cultural identities while eating is we eat food with our hands. And of course, the modern India doesn't do that, but still, we feel proud to eat with our hands. And normally we use the right hand. And I have also shown you a setting, sitting on the floor and eating. So in some states, this is still, accepted, and they do it regularly, sitting on the floor and eating. And we also use banana leaves in some states of India. So eco-friendly, kind of a thing where we are using the trees as a source of, and not producing plastic, or not, cutting trees for preparing those plates. So women of the house are generally for serving the entire family. That is how it's in most of the homes. Gift wrapping is used with bright colors. Indians like bright colors a lot. So, and people will also wear bright colors in good occasions. And gender is always considered while offering gifts. Flowers also have different connotations. So, it's very important to know what flower means, which flower means what in India. And it is not usually common to open gifts in India. So Indians do not believe in opening the gifts immediately. They would like to keep the gift, say a thank you, and maybe after the guests leave, they will open their gifts, which is contradictory to some countries where gifts have to be opened immediately as a respect to the person who's giving the gift. But in India, it's exactly the opposite. Even during meetings, people enter the meeting in the order of the hierarchy. So all the people who are at the lower hierarchy are coming first. Then maybe the senior hierarchy, and the person who's the top will come when all have arrived for the meeting. So here I also am talking about the time, because the main person will come only when everybody is there. And casual conversation can also be there in a meeting. So meetings are not every time very formal. It can be informal also. Some interesting facts when you see in India, because it's very highly populated, cultural tolerance is there towards crowding. So many people from developed countries, when they come to India, they see such a huge population, they get a little overwhelmed seeing that kind of people in the streets, and so many animals on the street. But India is actually used to this kind and has a cultural tolerance for everything, because they respect animals. They have the animals on the road, because they respect people from other religions. You will also find a mosque and a temple near to each other in India. So lot of cultural tolerance, religious tolerance is seen in India. In the home, it's usually a family living together as a joint family. Nowadays, there is a trend of nuclear family because of the lot of shifting in India itself. But usually Indians like to live in a joint family. And some pictures which show that how family comes together during festivals and marriages. I would also like to show you one slide about how Indian youngsters think, because you all are students. How you also understand how a student of India thinks. So students in India are actually more inclined towards having their own company or becoming an entrepreneur. And India as a country also has certain policies which are favoring towards entrepreneurship, like Make in India, Made in India. So many students are given a lot of fundings to start their own business, to develop and think of creative ideas. So that is how we are progressing towards a economy where we are believing that everything has to be manufactured in India and used in India, thus bringing our economy to a new boom. So youngsters, so every university has a center for entrepreneurship development. So this helps the students to, understand business, have new ideas for business, and ultimately launch their business while they are still in the university. Now I come to the last part of my presentation, where I would like to uh, uh, explain whatever I did during in this past time with a scientific intervention as well. So I'm sure all of us understand the Hofstede's cultural dimensions. So the first dimension I talk about is power distance. So India stands at 77 for this dimension of power, which indicates that in India, the distance between two authorities with power is very high. So people respect the authority who's having the power. So there is not so much of informal communication with the person who has the power. So this is important. If you are having a business dealing with India, you know exactly who should be the right person to approach. Or if you are coming to India as a student, you have to understand that the dean or the university chancellor has a power. And it's like you cannot call names. You have to address them with that proper authority. So in India, it is not a usual practice to call your parents by name. It is not a usual practice to call your teachers by name. It is not a usual practice to call your elders by name. So that explains the power distance which we have in India. The second is individualism versus collectivism. And India stands at 48. So it's like it's on the border. So now the new trend of people who come, they want their own freedom, they want their own personal space, they want to be allowed to take their own decisions. So that is why we are at the border. But the traditional India is more of a collectivism approach of people staying together in joint families, like with their grandparents and great grandparents. Everybody stays together because they like to be associated socially. So if you take the Maslow hierarchy theory, of motivational needs. For India, the social needs and the psychological needs are the most important, because they want to be connected with a group, either with their peer group or either with their family or either with a social group. So social esteem matters a lot to Indians. The third is masculinity versus femininity. So India is considered as a masculine country with a score of 56 on this dimension. Actually, years before, this was even higher. But with the advent of education, with the advent of female workforce, with the advent of, the changing mindset of even male in India, a lot of opportunities are there for females, and females are taking careers in every area and every streams in India. So that is why this is standing at 56. These are the recent scores which I have taken. So India is masculine with respect to the patriarchal culture. So we usually, it's not usual, it's usual. We usually adopt the name of our fathers, the surname. So if two families are getting married, the daughter-in-law will adopt the surname of the husband's family. So that is why it's patriarchal in nature. Uncertainty avoidance is 40. So it has a medium to low preference for avoiding uncertainty. That means Indians will not take too much high risk. So they will avoid an uncertainty. So it's like on a balance score, near to a balance score, but in business, Indians will take high risk. So this is again a contextual, so they will not take risk for relationships. They will avoid uncertainty there. But for business, Indians may take risk. They may invest into a lot of business. So they go out of their comfort zone for that. This is long-term orientation. So I have briefed it, LTO, so long-term orientation. So how Indians look at their future. So India scores 61 on long-term orientation. As I mentioned before, that the concept of karma is dominating across all religions and philosophical thoughts. So Indians always think about the future. So if they do something wrong today, they will think, okay, I may suffer in my in the next years. So I will not do this. Or maybe, for example, on the financial aspects. So Indians will save money today so that their the future years are better for them. So there is always a long-term orientation, may it be relationships. So the divorce rates in India are very low compared to many countries in the world. Indians save money a lot with respect to the long-term orientation. So with everything, this dominates a lot in India. So I have come to the end of my presentation, and I'm open for question. I really hope that, my presentation gave you a practical understanding of how India functions and how Indians in India functions. And there are many stereotypes which people hear about India. So I think some stereotypes may be broken today, and some stereotypes may be accepted today, that, okay, this is what we have heard and this is right. So I will be open to any questions if you have.
Dr. Nair, thank you so much. And I learned a lot of things because the Indian culture is very, very rich. So yes, we feel that we are very familiar with some part of this culture because of movies, because of some posts. But the thing is, you already underlined that. So we have some ideas, stereotypes in our minds. And whenever we hear about India, for example, so it's not so easy to break that stereotypes. It's same for the US, it's same for Europe, it's same for Turkey. So, but this was a very fruitful, and I learned a lot. This was a very fruitful session, and I learned a lot. You know that as a business professor, I have some questions for you. Before
Definitely.
starting the session, I already warned you about that. I'm going to have some questions for you. So I was trying to look from a managerial perspective. You know that this richness of culture, these diversities, these differences, these parts of culture creates many challenges for the people. Yes, it's easier for the Indian people to adopt these challenges. But what about the global companies? And we know that many global corporations, brands are trying to operate in India. So how do they adapt to these challenges? So this was the question that come to my mind. And for example, do they take any guidance to adapt these challenges, these richness of culture? So what can you say about that?
Yeah. So there are many companies who invest in India. They start their, branch offices, or they start their production houses in India. So what is usually done is when they invest in India, they may appoint an Indian person as the topmost hierarchy, because actually that person knows the culture of India. And there are several training programs on cross-cultural aspects which have to be done. Because when a company from a different home country is operating in a different host country, so the company which forms is actually has to be a blend of both the cultures. Otherwise, it's very difficult, because the vision and the mission of the home country is different and the host country is different. It will never survive. So, with respect to the human resource management, that plays a very important role. So, what is how the leaves are granted, whether there are religious holidays or not. How about the clothing, a system in India? You have to be formal or you have to be informal. Say, for example, in Indian offices, there is a strict, almost a strict protocol of being formally dressed. You cannot wear shorts and come to the office. So, but the foreign company may have, that kind of a culture. So a lot of it depends upon the human resource management team, which brings in the cultural training. So I suggest, before a company is investing in India, they have to have a formal training back in their country about how the culture and how the value set system is. So that is what I believe. I hope I
So
have answered your question.
yes, thank you so much for the answer. And my second and last question is about the globalization and the consumer culture. So I think you somehow mentioned and just talked about that the things are changing. The modern people may not follow some rules. So you know that we can't ignore the rise of global culture. So how how does it affect the globalization, global culture, and global brands affect the Indian culture, Indian organizational structure, Indian way of doing business? And so, can we say that yes, there is an impact on our lives, in our business life? So, how can you answer that question?
Yeah. So there is a strong impact on globalization, I would say, and I cannot deny it at all, because India is actually wanting that also. So in India, there is a lot of international companies investing, and Indians are also looking at the West for many as an example of how it can be more developed. So India is still at a developing stage with respect to the massive population, so each village is not developed, but the cities are. So India is like a combination. If you go to Mumbai, a city like Mumbai, on maybe one side of the road, you will find the highest, the richest millionaire, billionaire in the entire world living, their houses. But at the right side, you may also find the biggest slum. So that is how we actually are living today. So when there is the effect of globalization, it is first taking place in the cities which are modern, in the cities which are having high ranks of education. But what is happening is the companies who are investing in India is also considering that. To give you an example about, say, for example, McDonald's. So when McDonald's made an entry into India, they came with the usual what McDonald's has to offer, but it did not work there. Because India, and specifically in the state of Gujarat, where maximum population is vegetarian, they will not never go to a restaurant which offers non-vegetarian. So what they had to do is they brought out aloo tikki burger. So that is a potato burger. So the moment you have something as a vegetarian option, also people started coming in. So the people who are non-vegetarian also started coming into McDonald's. So globalization is not only about investing in another country, but it is actually going global. So having globalization as a thought process, but implementing it with the local practices of that particular religion or community or society or of the country. So that is how India is facing today.
Yes, thank you so much. So I was very excited when I see the title of your speech, and I really learned a lot from your speech. Thank you so much for your contribution, and thank you so much being with us. And I also would like to say thank you for being with us, saying that, so I'm ready to help you with anything with your country. And I would like to thank you so much again. And today we had Dr. Preeti Nair from Parul University, India, and we had a very fruitful conversation with her. Again, thank you her for her contribution, and take care of yourselves. Hope to see you in another webinar or in any other research. Take care of yourself. Bye-bye.
Yeah, just last, before I close, we organize summer schools in India at Parul University. And these summer schools actually are for discipline subjects, but one subject is on also Indian culture. And we organize it for our partner university students, and we do not charge any tuition fees for that. So I invite you, Dr. Murad, your colleagues, and all the students who are listening to me to come to India, to come to our university, and we can help you understand a little better of what India is, and we together as different countries can come together and learn from each other and bring something new to this world. So thank you once again.
Thank you so much for the kind invitation. Hope to see you. Hope to be in India and just
Yes.
learning the Indian culture. Take care of yourselves. Bye bye.
Bye bye.